Il est très faible en fondation quand même. Début de la présidence française. Ouais. 2 janvier 2022. Non. Janvier 2022.
All right, live images at this point in time coming from the Paris AI Summit, and that is French President Emmanuel Macron. He's at Marseille right now, and the Prime Minister has visited the Marseille cemetery, which holds immense importance from a lot of point of views. And this has been a historical visit by the Prime Minister, and this trip in particular has shown India's commitment towards emerging technologies and how cooperation between great nations such as India and France can lead and pave the way for a better future. The Prime Minister, in fact, has often talked about AI. He's spoken about AI to a number of world leaders, and we also remember that very important interaction that he had with Microsoft founder Bill Gates, when he talked about AI and how it also translates into I, which means mother, and which also translates into nourishment. And here is the Prime Minister, live visuals coming from Marseille at this point in time. The Prime Minister is greeting a number of dignitaries, and he arrived at the French port city of Marseille, which also has a connection with Veer Savarkar, and it's a part of southern France. He's paid homage to the memory of freedom fighter Veer Savarkar, who attempted a courageous escape at the port city. Gautam Mukherjee, senior journalist, with us on the broadcast to talk more about this. Gautam, what do you make of these visuals? You know, India and France, have never had a hot and cold relationship. There's always been bonhomie between these two countries. In fact, we've also been importing defense equipment. Right, and these are visuals of the Prime Minister's visit to the war cemetery in Marseille, an important landmark again, an important place. Well, it's important for the Prime Minister to be here because over 1,000 Indian soldiers were martyred during World War I, and some of them could find their remains in this cemetery as well. Gautam Mukherjee is with us on the broadcast to talk more about this. Gautam, important destination. Gautam, if you're there with us, I hope you can hear me. Gautam, are you there with us? All right, we'll have Gautam join us momentarily, but those are live visuals coming in. Ambassador Ashok Sajjanhar also with us on the broadcast to give his point of view on this. Ambassador Sajjanhar, appreciate you joining us, sir. I hope you can hear me.
I can hear you very well, Vineet. Thank you.
Well, on the backdrop of the Prime Minister's visit to Marseille, which is obviously an important city from a number of point of views, we are also going back in history now. While under the British Raj, a lot of Indian soldiers lost their lives during World War I. Veer Savarkar also has had a stint in Marseille. We'll get into the history and the histrionics a bit later. How do you see this trip cementing India's proximity towards France? How do you think these two nations, France also one of the oldest democracies, one of the great democracies, making sure that when it comes to advancements in technology and people-to-people connect, it's impossible to ignore India?
No, absolutely. Thank you very much, Vineet, for having me on your show. You are very right. Number one, the importance of India-France partnership. It's a strategic partnership that was established in 1998. In fact, it was the very first strategic partnership that India established with any country. All the other strategic partnerships, whether it is with the US or Russia or any other country, they came much later. They came later, not much later, they came later in about 2000 during the time of Prime Minister Vajpayee also. So this is a very important partnership. You mentioned defense is a very important element of our bilateral relations. In addition to that, we have nuclear energy also. And we have made some changes in the budget, in our laws, domestic laws. So we can be hopeful that the Jaitapur plant that has been pending for many years in Maharashtra, that we might be able to see, come to fruition. Also small modular reactors, medium modular reactors. So this is on the bilateral context, a very important partnership, people-to-people connect, very significant, and advanced technology, emerging technologies, critical technologies. And it's a matter of great pride and a recognition of India as an emerging technological power that France invited Prime Minister Modi to co-host the AI summit, and then India will be hosting the next AI summit. So I think on the India-France front, relationship is very strong, very dynamic. As far as Marseille is concerned, you are very right when you said, this is there are 1,000 Indian soldiers who perished in the First World War in this area. They are buried here under the, it's a part of the Commonwealth War Graves Commission. That is where they are buried. And Prime Minister Modi is gone to pay his homage to these fallen soldiers. Also, one of the strongest votaries and activists as far as the Indian freedom struggle is concerned, Veer Savarkar, he also has a very strong link with Marseille. But in addition to that, the other programs of Prime Minister Modi, if I could very briefly touch upon them. Number one, inauguration of the Consulate General. So in addition to the our embassy in Paris, we will have another office in Marseille. That's the first Consulate General that is being established. Very important for commerce because, commerce, trade, investments, economic cooperation is one area where India and France still have to do a lot of work, have to take the partnership forward. So that is very important. That is also the hub of, it's on the Mediterranean Sea. It's located on the Mediterranean Sea. What we have been talking about, the IMEC, the India, Middle East, Europe Economic Corridor. For that, Marseille will be a very important center. So I think Prime Minister's visit there to inaugurate the Consulate General is very symbolically significant. In addition to commerce, it will also promote the people-to-people connect because there's huge Indian diaspora population there. So servicing their needs and requirements will be very important. And last but not the least will be Prime Minister's visit to the Cadarache ITER facility, which is the International Thermonuclear Experimental Reactor, which is very important. It's a forward-looking, visionary project, and it's a thermonuclear project, which means that it's a fusion project. Normally, the nuclear energy that today we are generating is through the fission process, but this is in terms of bringing two particles and making them fuse with each other, combine with each other so that energy is released, and doing that under controlled conditions. That is what the Cadarache project, ITER project, is doing. And so Prime Minister's focus on high tech is also demonstrated here. So I think all in all, both the visit to Paris as well as the visit to Marseille, I think it will give a huge impetus to the bilateral partnership. The last comment I'll make here is, I think the body language between President Macron and Prime Minister Modi was there for all to see, and it spoke of the very close feeling of trust and confidence that both the leaders have in each other. And that has been demonstrated on many occasions in the past. The last one, I think, very recent one, when last year in 2024, we had invited Mr. Biden to be the chief guest at our Republic Day, and he could not come because of his commitments and engagements in the United States with his own election process at that time. And then at the last minute, we approached Mr. Macron, the French president, and he very readily agreed to step in and to come as the chief guest. So I think this really speaks about his very strong relations with Prime Minister Modi.
Let me also rope in Gautam Mukherjee. Gautam, obviously, the Prime Minister has been very passionate about honoring the legacy of our soldiers. You know, this is not the first time or the first cemetery that he's gone to. If you remember, in 2014, he did the same in Canberra, in Australia. He did the same in Singapore in 2015. He did the same in France in 2014 as well, when he visited the Neuve Chapelle cemetery in France again. So obviously, and he became the first Prime Minister, Gautam, to do so in all of these places where our forgotten soldiers are resting. And let's not forget that he likes to spend his Diwali, with soldiers and the people who are guarding our nation at the border. Speaks a lot for a man who is deeply passionate, profoundly passionate about India's legacy and India's future. Perhaps I can sum it up in this compendium that the Prime Minister is here at this point in time to honor a legacy as well as to create one for the future.
Well, I think there is a great sense of history that this Prime Minister has, and that is why he, last week or so, he was at the Kumbh. He is constantly traveling all over India and linking with all the heritage and culture as well as the politics involved. Similarly, when he goes abroad, and as you rightly pointed out, the Indians have sent 2 million Indians to the First World War, again another 2 million to the Second World War. They were involved in some very important battles, and they have done many heroic things. And unfortunately, in the intervening years, both the Europeans as well as the Indian leadership seems to have forgotten their contribution. Well, Mr. Modi is different. He is making a very strong point that not only do we have the Indian diaspora everywhere, but India has contributed to the March of Freedom by fighting in all the difficult wars, the two world wars, liberation of Haifa, which was, now it's part of this route to Europe that we're talking of. Adani is developing the Haifa port, but we liberated Haifa. And the Israel people are most grateful about it. If you see the monument just outside Teen Murti Bhavan in Delhi, it is to do with the liberation of Haifa. So, there's a lot more than the here and now, which he also attends to very, earnestly. We're talking of particularly fusion nuclear power. We're talking of this route through Marseille as well. At the same time, we're talking about the AI. We're going to move next to the United States. But this is not to forget the past. The present leads to the future. Vineet.
Ambassador Sajjanar, your take on the Prime Minister, making the most of these trips. They are just not about transactions. They are just not about a fiscal or a partnership outlook. It is also something which is imbued with a lot of character. It is something which honors tradition and values. And this is perhaps the first time in our history that we have seen spectacles like this.
No, you are absolutely right, Vineet, because, of course, our Prime Minister and India can be transactional when it needs to. With leaders who are transactional, we have to be transactional. But Prime Minister is one who has valued our virasat, who's valued our heritage, who's valued our legacy. And you would recall that, a few years ago when he was speaking from the ramparts of the Red Fort, then he said that, he'll like to give 5 ideas for the people of India to follow, Panch Mantra, which he said. And one of the first ones was that we need to give up our slavish mindset. We need to change our mindset. We need to be proud of what we have been and what we are, because that is what is going to give us strength and courage to move into the technological future. So he is an individual who is grounded very strongly and very deeply into our past, but which he has his eyes, fixed to the future, use all the new technologies. And, that is the reason why would President Macron invite Mr. Modi to be the co-host of the AI Action Summit? Basically because he knows that Prime Minister Modi is so tech savvy, and he has, he's, a hands-on person, and he has promoted technology in such a big way. You look at what we have been able to achieve in the last few years, whether it is Mangalyaan or Chandrayaan, in terms of the frugal engineering that we have been able to provide not only to our own people, but to the world, whether it is the digital public infrastructure, or it is in terms of developing new vaccines, when in the past we always had to depend upon vaccines from, from other sources, from imports. So this Prime Minister has, his, feet very solidly planted on both these aspects, on both these issues: forward progress, forward movement, development, use what is in the best interest of our country, but of course, not losing sight of our past, the strength of our past, of our culture, of our heritage, and the people-to-people connect. And this is what, gets reflected in whenever the Prime Minister goes out, whether his meetings with the Indian diaspora, in any country that he goes, whichever place he goes, he connects with those people and makes those people feel proud of India, makes those people feel proud of India's achievements, India's past, India's heritage, and also gives them greater energy and dynamism and focus and commitment in terms of working towards a Viksit Bharat in 2047. Vineet.
Absolutely. And Gautam, the Prime Minister is going to wrap up this visit and he's going to go on to travel to the US. But this is an important visit. It's led to the creation of a consulate general in Marseille. And obviously, the Prime Minister is also going to be visiting Cadarache, which has the International Thermonuclear Experimental Sector and Reactor. The Prime Minister has gone on to say that nuclear technology needs to be harnessed. In fact, he went to the extent of saying that nuclear technology has to be harnessed to make sure that vegetables also grow with the help of AI and nuclear technology. What do you make of this outlook, and how is France going to be conducive in this mission and vision that the PM has?
Well, France is a country that used nuclear power to the extent of almost 90% of their needs. I'm not sure they are building more nuclear reactors anymore because of various environmental concerns. But, they were early users, early movers, and so they are an ideal collaborator now when India is now making its own smaller reactors because we got stuck on trying to import the large reactors from Russia and America. And with great difficulty, I think we've managed to get 2 Russian reactors up and running. But we have then changed policy and gone into the smaller reactors, which we can make ourselves. And we are proceeding. I think we have a plan to put in almost 50 of them in the next few years. Alongside that, that means greater and greater reliance on nuclear power in addition to other green sources like solar and wind. If we get into new technologies that the French might be able to help us with, it's more power to our elbow. There is also, for a long time, we've been working on thorium reactors without making that much progress. I think we have one which is at the laboratory stage and is being tested, but we have ample thorium. So if we were to make thorium reactors on a viable scale,
प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी राष्ट्रपति मैक्रो के साथ इस वक्त मार्सेई में वाणिज्यिक दूतावास का उद्घाटन।
His Excellency the President, Mr. Emmanuel Macron, and our esteemed Honorable Prime Minister Sri Narendra Modi. We are deeply honored by your presence here today, sir. May I kindly request the esteemed dignitaries to press the buzzer simultaneously and formally open the Consulate General of India in Marseille. By your presence here today, sir. May I kindly request the esteemed dignitaries to press the buzzer simultaneously and formally open the Consulate General of India in Marseille.
इसी के साथ फ्रांस में दूसरा भारतीय वाणिज्य दूतावास का शुभारंभ।
Thank you, sir.
All right, visuals coming in of an excited crowd greeting the Prime Minister. You could hear the dhol playing in the background. It indeed is a momentous occasion for the country. There is a new consulate general in Marseille. That only goes on to show you the growing importance as well as the growing presence of the Indian diaspora in the country of France. The Prime Minister is in Marseille with Emmanuel Macron. A number of important events have come through as a result of this visit, and we're going to discuss those. Joining us at this point in time is Dr. Selva Murthy, Chief Controller, Research and Development of the DRDO. Ambassador Manju Seth, former diplomat, also joins us on the program. Major General Dhruv Katoch, Director of the India Foundation, also with me on the show. And last but by no means the least, Major General G.G. Dwivedi, Global Strategic and Defence Expert, also joining us on the broadcast. Dr. Selva Murthy, I'll begin with you, sir. Well, obviously, the partnership between India and France is commendable. It is something to be hailed. And India and France have very recently joined hands to co-produce an advanced air-to-surface missile, which is called the Hammer missile. This is a short-range missile. It's got a range of about 70 kilometers. And you know, the range of the missile, Dr. Selva Murthy, should tell you a lot for why do we need this. You know, the range is obviously meant for people, meant for adversaries who are pretty much around us. What do you make of this partnership? France has always come forth to India's demands of defense equipment. Let's not forget that the Rafales also have been procured from France, and they are optimum flying machines. Your thoughts, sir?
It's a very significant milestone today, the signing of the MOU and also the partnership agreement in the Aero India, which is just taking place now at Bangalore. And this development as a joint venture is going to accelerate the production of this air-to-surface missile. And India has developed a huge capability in missiles, as you all are aware of. Agni, Prithvi, Akash, Nag, Trishul, BrahMos, interceptor missile, Shaurya, and Helena. A family of missiles have been developed for various applications. So this particular missile is air-to-surface missile. From aircraft, you can just fire to a target. It's also a smart missile in the sense that it has precision, and it can also, all weather conditions you can fire, and it is fire and forget, so that you give the intelligence to the missile for the targets. It could be a multiple targets. So it has several smart capabilities, and it is also a standoff. So you are not risking your platform, the aerial platform, which you need to send close to the borders and then fire at a target of our adversary. So this is also a standoff system of missile where your aircraft from which you are firing is safe, and then you have the target, multiple target, which is attacked. Then the other important thing is that this missile can also the lethality by carrying a different kind of payloads, right from 250 kgs to about 1000 kgs. You can have different kinds of bombs as well as the warheads which you can carry. So it has got very multiple applications, and this signing of the MOU and the partnership agreement which has taken place are also to establish a center of excellence. This is not only for co-production, but there will be a transfer of knowledge coming from that country, the France, as well as to the Bharat Electronics Limited, and even DRDO, Defense Research and Development Organization, which is the major anchor of the R&D in terms of the missile. So this will have both production component, like for example BrahMos, which is a joint venture between Russia and India, which is the fastest supersonic cruise missile today is being manufactured through this joint venture. So this yet another joint venture with France is going to really augment the capability, defense capability for the surface to air, and also in terms of export market, because it's not only for our requirements. So we can look at the export potentials, and there'll be a huge production which will happen through this joint venture, and which we will also develop diplomacy. Once you start giving it to friendly countries, diplomatically friendly countries, that this will also have a technology diplomacy will happen through this. So I see a phenomenal number of tangible and intangible outcome from this partnership, which has been signed. And then also our honorable Prime Minister addressing in France the AI, the event which I was listening, and then the way he the explicitly and also very lucidly brought out the AI application, and how India and France and other countries jointly can look at that possibility of artificial intelligence coming into application in defense and every sector, not only in the defense sector, but also civilian sector. And so this Indo-US, Indo-French, Indo-US partnership is going to enhance in the years to come. So I consider this as a very, very significant, most important, the joint venture which is happening now, because in this process, our missile capability and production capability will also go up. Because Bharat Electronics Limited is the integrating agency, even though BDL, Bharat Dynamics Limited, will come for also the production. But here the integration agency is BEL. That is why the contract has been signed between BEL as well as with Safran, which is the French company, manufacturing company. So this is a very significant development in my opinion, and this will open up many new avenues, opportunities for both the countries, India and France.
Absolutely. Well said, sir. Jal Dwivedi, how do you look at this partnership? You know, obviously, apart from all the visa woes when it comes to, Schengen countries, there still needs to be some work done. But the fact of the matter is that India has always positioned France no less than the way we have positioned either Russia or the United States.
Absolutely, Vineet. I think India-France partnership is deep-rooted and also has multiple dimensions, not only in defense, but it is also beyond defense. And this partnership actually dates back to more than half a century, because we got the number of French aircraft like Mystères, French helicopters, and therefore I think this is only taking the step forward. But coming to the specifics in this visit, first and foremost, our defense modernization today is in a very critical phase. And we are looking at the aerospace platforms, we are looking at enhancing the air power, we are also looking at the larger role that India is going to play in Indo-Pacific. So a couple of these issues will be addressed. One is that we have INS Vikrant, which is operational, but we are looking for the aircraft, and the deal had been actually in principle agreed, and Rafale Marine, 26 of these aircraft, that deal is pending, and most likely, I am sure, it will be pushed up or it may be signed. Secondly is the submarines, because the Scorpion submarine, our fleet, needs to be augmented, and the 3 Scorpion submarines are also on the annual. They'll be produced under the license of the French people. The third is, I think, very important facet is the engines for our aircraft, whether it is AMAC or whether it is Tejas Mark 1A, because right now we are having some problems with the US, especially concerning F404G engines and also F414G engines, that is for the advanced fighters. And somehow I think here also France can step in, because Safran has a great name in the engine manufacturing. So I think this also could be addressed. And beyond this also we are looking at the nuclear cooperation, the small modular nuclear reactors, because India needs clean energy, and India and France are partners in this. I think again there will be progress on this issue. So overall what I see is that there is a great deal of convergence between India and France, and not to mention the IMEC, that is India, Middle East, Europe Economic Corridor, I'm sure that will also be under discussion, because that has not progressed because of the crisis in the Middle East that is going on, but I'm sure that will also be on the platter. So all I can say is that these visits actually take the partnership, strategic partnership to a next level, and this is work in progress, and I am confident that this visit will yield immense result, especially in the critical areas that I mentioned. Vineet.
General Katoch, there is also this conversation about technology transfer that India has been having with the French. In lieu and in light of these developments and these hugs and this soft diplomacy, how is that likely to accelerate?
Thank you, Vineet. Vineet, I think the criticality will be technology transfer and what exactly is being transferred. This is one of the I think this is one of the key areas as far as India is concerned. Now, Dr. Selva Murthy actually spoke about the missile, that the Hammer missile, which there'll be an agreement to jointly produce it. Now, that is just one of the components. But let us say if you're talking about submarines or the Scorpion submarines, or we are talking of the engines. Now, I've got my doubts about the engine for our next generation aircraft, whether that technology will be given or not. That still remains very doubtful, and that remains a grey area as far as India is concerned. In fact, engines has been our grey area both in our shipbuilding and in our aircraft. That is something which I think we will have to address ourselves. But should France be cooperating in that sphere, especially as far as aircraft engines are concerned, I think it will be a great step forward. On the nuclear plane, I think there is going to be great convergence. That suits both the countries. And France has got certain technologies. India is reasonably well advanced. And when we are looking at smaller nuclear plants for power generation, I think that is certainly something which is in the offing and which can be done. But as far as defense is concerned, France has got a great deal to offer India. Or at the same time, India has got a great deal to offer to France. So it is not going to be a one-sided relationship. It will be something which is mutual, and it will work well for both of us. One more point I would like to give. The Prime Minister is there in France today, and from here he goes to the US. I think his bargaining position will be far stronger now after having seen what France can offer. Otherwise, if there is a feeling that we'll get nothing from France, then the US is in a better position to dictate terms to India. I don't think that's going to happen now. So, in a sense, I feel that this visit has been well planned diplomatically. You go through France first, which is already a very friendly country, and which has stood by us for the past many decades. We have very, very strong relationships. And from there, he goes to the US. So, let's see as to how it works out. But I think it is a very positive development. Vineet.
Absolutely, it is a positive development. Ambassador Manju Seth, I'm sure this brings a smile to your face, seeing Consulate General being inaugurated in the city of Marseille, and we obviously saw the cheering Indian crowd, welcoming the Prime Minister and welcoming Emmanuel Macron. This is obviously a new chapter in India-France relationship at a multitude of levels, ma'am.
Absolutely, and we have a fairly large Indian diaspora in the south of France, and establishing, and of course the Marseille port is a very key strategic port in that area. So I think that is going to be, we've been looking at for some years. I remember this discussion has been on that we need to open another consulate to cater to the south of France, and I think this is a very important step that has been taken, and it will be one more contributor to the excellent relations and the strategic partnership that India and France have. And I feel that this visit, and very rightly I agree with General Katoch that this is also very significant in the context of the Prime Minister's visit to the US. So, and the fact that there's been so much of convergence, there's been agreement on these, on defense, in the modular nuclear plants, etc. So I think this is going to be this has been a very important visit, and including at the AI summit, the joint co-chairing by India and France of the AI summit is also a very crucial, important step and a message that we are together and we have strengths to bring to the table. I think that message is very clear now. Otherwise, people tended to think that India is only back office IT expertise. So now with this AI, our co-chairing the AI summit indicates that we also have innovation, we also have the talent, and we also have the means of setting up our own, AI sort of alternatives and models. And I think this is going to be, in some ways, because the next summit is going to be in India, and AI is something which requires regulation, it requires coordination, and for everyone to work together. And with this AI Action Summit, we have sent a very strong signal that we are ready to collaborate, we are ready to work. And the other, all the other important countries were there, China, US, all the ones who have got, who are developing or where the companies are developing AI and AI applications. So I feel that we have, this particular partnership with France, including setting up of the consulate in Marseille, all in all, is a very positive development and a reinforcement of the very strong bilateral partnership and relations that we've had over the decades. Vinny.
Right, you're absolutely right, ma'am, and this partnership is going leaps and bounds. Let me in fact rope in Dr. Selvamurthy once again into this conversation. Dr. Selvamurthy, an important point that me and General Cadarache also talked about was the criticality of the transfer of technology. How is that also to be a game changer, and what more does India need to do in terms of making sure that autonomy is also a part of these bilateral exchanges and outreach?
Vineet, I think technology drives the doctrines of a nation, both in war and peace. So if you have a critical technology, that is your money, value and strength. So no country would easily part with such critical technologies, like for example, the engine, the gas turbine engine for the fighter aircraft, or for the ships, which he was mentioning, General mentioned, also the Cadarache mentioned. So, but then it is now things are opening up because strength respects strength, strength respects strength. So we have now grown in our strength, in R&D capability today. So whether if supercomputer is denied, we will make our own supercomputer. So I think that confidence in our scientists and technologies and the manufacturing industries has come a long way. So that is why now it is the benefit for the other countries who are going to partner with us, whether in a joint venture. So the technology transfer which you were mentioning, it will happen. The reason is how much you are able to imbibe and absorb the technology when you are manufacturing. It is your capability to also to extract and learn from such things. Tangible, intangible transfer of knowledge takes place when you do such kind of joint ventures. The other one is France has been a willing partner, even in our engine development, Kaveri engine,
Absolutely.
where we were able to take it up to 70 kilonewton thrust, which we were expecting a higher thrust, and the AMCA coming in, where you require 130 kilonewton thrust, or even 110 is adequate initially. So we need partnership because we have developed that tacit knowledge, technology prowessness to build an engine. Kaveri engine is not a failure. Even though it has taken a long time, we have learnt a lot of lessons to build a gas turbine engine. So with this, now we can easily scale up to a level of our capability. So that is where the partnership, synergy, coming from partners like France, who have been in the business for years, decades. So that is going to really act like a force multiplier in our capability building for engines, and also many other things coming up like quantum technologies, AI application, semiconductor, and we need also the gallium nitride technologies, which is very critical. So which we are now looking for partnership because it is the order of the day. Sabke saath, sabka vikas. This is our Honorable Prime Minister's slogan. So we would like to work with countries who are willing to partner. That's where the Ambassador Manju Sethji was mentioning also, that countries are now looking at India in a different manner, even for transferring, because they will learn from us. Like it was mentioned, it is not that one way. The flow of knowledge or technology is not going to be one way, which was happening earlier. But now it is going to be both ways. So like even in BrahMos, It's one of the supersonic cruise missiles. We have added a great value to that missile. So that is why the countries are now willing to partner on a partnership mode, not just on a business mode of only a technology transfer on papers. But I think it is for us diplomatically as well as scientists and to imbibe that knowledge, tacit knowledge, critical knowledge when they work together is all very important. So I am very hopeful that the TOT will, in the sense which we are looking at TOT, technology transfer, and the tacit knowledge also being shared both ways will happen. This is my presumption. And confidence.
General Dwivedi, in fact, I've just been handed an update in which we can clearly outline the areas in which certain MOUs have been signed. 3 of them, rather 4 of them pertain to technology. 3 of them pertain to civil nuclear energy. There's obviously the Indo-Pacific Sustainable Development Cooperation, which has been signed here. There are MOUs related to environment, culture, people-to-people connect. Is obviously something that has been taken care of. We've just spoken and mentioned and seen the excitement with the inauguration of a new consulate general in Marseille. Out and out, this seems to be a very favorable trip. Next stop, General Dwivedi, is the United States. And Donald Trump is obviously shaking up a lot of ground that India has been treading for the last 4 years with the Democrats. How do you see that trip coming along in lieu or in the backdrop of what's happened in France? General Dwivedi? I can't hear you, sir.
Yeah, I was muted, actually, right. So, Vineet, what you have brought out is I like to focus on 2-3 important issues. First and foremost, in strategic terms, today India has options. There was a time when we had no options. Today we have strategic choices and we have options to get the best from France, from US, or even from Russia, right? So that gives us a very comfortable position to get the right stuff or the right technology at the right terms. The second point is that we need to complement our weapon system. You see, we had the French Mirage 2000, so French already have the aircrafts and the fighters on our inventory, and then the Rafale. Now with the Americans, we had gone more on the transport aircraft, and so we will be now looking at as to what best we can get from America. So in this issue, I think what will be critical is the terms, because we are always skeptical about Americans because they attach a lot of strings when they transfer the equipment or when they even sell the equipment. So I think our effort will be not the buyer-seller relation, but partnership where will be co-developing and also for the export markets. The second very important issue is that we need to get very clear, because the way the F404 engines or the 414 engine, the MOU was signed when Prime Minister was there in America last year, but I think somehow there are some glitches that need to be sorted out. And the third important point is, you see, strategically, we are well aligned to America, we are well aligned to France, and there's high degree of convergence. We are not going to play one against the other, but we are going to draw best from our partners and from our allies. So all I can say is that what Prime Minister will be looking at, what best we can get from America, where our deficits are there, where the gaps are there, how the best they can be filled up. And as I said, we have today choices, we have today options, and therefore the Prime Minister will look at what best can be got from America, and the terms, more important is the bit of trust deficit that is there. I think that needs to be ironed out. But on the whole, our relationship with America is on very sound footing, and so also with France. I think both complement each other and not one against the other, or don't compensate one for the other. Vineet.
All right, sir.
For more such videos, subscribe to the Newsx YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.